All
Hey,
right. My clock says 9 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and call to order this special meeting of the Kansas Board of Regents on this October 30th. Appreciate everybody making time for us. Appreciate your flexibility. Don't think we will keep you for too long this morning, but do have something important to consider. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We just have one agenda item today, as you all know, to consider a request for Wichita State to apply for the aviation's job loan. So I'll now call on David Miller to present the request. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Chairman Benson and Regents and President Flanders. Really appreciate your willingness to call the special meeting this morning. I know everyone is very busy, so very grateful for your time this morning. And I think you'll see that this presents a great opportunity for Wichita State as we continue to expand our maintenance, repair, and overhaul operations in the Wichita region. So I'm going to go ahead and just share a little presentation that I'll run through. And then I'd be happy to stand for questions. I don't use Zoom too frequently, so are you able to see the slideshow on the screen? Okay, great. Before you today is a request to proceed with the loan for Wichita State's NIAR MRO lab. This loan opportunity is made available through the State Treasurer's linked deposit aviation jobs loan program. And the State Treasurer has had very similar loan programs in the past and continues those today related to agriculture, housing. I believe there is an economic investment loan program that also exists. But during the last legislative session, the legislature adopted this new linked deposit loan program targeting specifically growing aviation jobs. And the loan program was adopted for an allocation of $30 million by the state. Today, $23 million remains. And one of the reasons we have a little bit of urgency around this is because another entity did take a portion of the funds. And so we are trying to move as quickly as we can to make sure that we are able to secure a portion of the funds as well. This loan program, it has to be utilized for one of two things. It can be utilized in either support of an aircraft maintenance, repair, and overhaul operation, and that's what Wichita State currently operates, or it could be in support of an airport authority. And obviously, you know, the intent of all of this is to grow aviation jobs in Kansas. To the right on this slide, you have just a couple of pictures of some of the past MRO modifications that we've done in the past. So we've done passenger to freighter modifications. In the upper right corner, you have a picture of a passenger to a fire tanker modification that was done. And then towards the bottom is a passenger to a aerial sprayer modification that was done. And that is used to spray during an oil spill in a large body of water like the ocean or something like that. The purpose of the loan for Wichita State is to help support our growing MRO operations, specifically in relation to the Department of Defense. And I'll talk about that a little bit, a few slides further in. As you all know, when you do federal work, it is always on a reimbursement basis. And so for us, our normal cycle kind of looks like we do the work 1 month. The next month, we invoice the federal government. And then the following month is normally when we receive payment. And so these programs, when we have new startups, do require pretty substantial startup costs in the very beginning in order to get those programs off the ground. And so this loan program is going to be utilized to help create some working capital for us. It will serve as a bridge, if you will, as these new programs come online. And you know, another term might be another tool in our financial toolbox as we continue to pursue these projects. Now, I also want you to know that we will do, when it comes to starting these programs off and when there are capital needs, we're going to do what we always do, and that is we're going to pursue other people's money first. We want to pursue grants if we can capitalize on grants first, and or utilize our own cash balances before we dip into the use of the loan proceeds. And I think that would be your expectation of us as well, that we would pursue things in that manner. Just to give you an idea about how the state's linked deposit loan program works, essentially what occurs is the state treasurer, in this case, would deposit $23 million with the financial institution. And in turn, the financial institution would give to the state a CD, and the statute outlines specifically what that rate of that CD is to be. And so in that statute, it says that the rate has to be 2% less than the state's pooled money investment board or PMIB market rate. And today that would be about 1.6%. The bank in turn will do a loan to the borrower. And in that case, what the statute outlines is that the rate that the bank charges the borrower can't be 3% more than the CD rate that the bank is paying to the state. So a little confusing, but this slide outlines for you the terms of the loan that we've negotiated with the financial institution and their loan commitment at this stage. And so the principal of the loan would be up to $23 million. The term would be for 10 years with a 20-year amortization, and that's what is allowed by state statute. And these rates do change on a daily basis in the way it is structured. But here you have an example of what that would look like if the loan had been closed yesterday. And so the CD deposit rate that the bank would offer to the state would be 1.59%. So again, that's taking the pooled money investment board's market rate of 3.59 less 2%. The loan rate that, in addition to that, the loan rate that the financial institution would charge to WSU, and this would not change, is 1.375%. And so when you add both of those up, the total loan rate for Wichita State would be 2.965%. Now, we've also negotiated with the financial institution for those loan proceeds to remain on deposit with the bank. And what they will do is they will offer us a rate that is equal to the 1-year Treasury bill. And as of yesterday, that rate was 3.59%. And one thing I also want to make sure I emphasize here is per KBOR policy, any type of loan or bonding can only be utilized for capital financing purposes or use of capital equipment. And we certainly will adhere to that policy. We will not use these funds for any type of operating costs like personnel costs or utility costs. So I want to make sure I touch on that as well. Just to give you an idea of some of the large and new Department of Defense projects that are starting to come online for us. First, the B-1 bomber. Just to tell you a little bit of story and give you a little bit of context, back during the Reagan era, we negotiated a treaty with Russia, a nuclear treaty, and that treaty required us to put a structure inside the B-1 bomber that would prevent that bomber from delivering a nuclear warhead. And so today, the entire fleet of the B-1 bombers can only deliver conventional bombs. That structure that was placed inside the B-1 bomber has caused, on some of the planes, the upper skin, or what's called the backbone of the plane, to crack. And several years ago, the Air Force approached a variety of different entities to try and see if they could engineer a solution to that problem. Those folks were not able to engineer a solution. And roughly about 3 years ago, they approached Dr. John Tomlin to see if WSU could engineer a solution. And we did. And so that program is kicking off now. Each individual bomber that comes in for that repair and replacement will be approximately $40 to $65 million for each plane. And the other thing to outline here is that success feeds success. And so as we've engineered this solution, the Air Force is also approaching us in relation to the B-2 bomber, and as well as in relation to doing work for the B-52 bomber as well. And that's a process in the works now. Another large project, I know you guys have probably heard about this one before and seen the media and publicity about it, but we were awarded through the Sierra Nevada Corporation a $430 million contract over the next 4 years to assist on the replacement of what's commonly called the Doomsday plane, but better known as maybe the Survivable Airborne Operations Center. I guess that's the technical name of the plane. But essentially, the Air Force has a fleet of 4 of these, and there's one of these up in the air at any single time to serve as a military command center. And that project is ongoing now as well, and a very large project for us. I won't dwell on this too deeply, but one of the things that makes NIAR unique is what Dr. Tomlin has built with this multidisciplinary lab structure in which we don't just possess an MRO to do these types of repairs, but we also possess the engineering services to do the pre-work to develop these solutions. We have the sustainment and structural testing component, and we have things like Atlas for the manufacturing of parts and automating that manufacturing. In total, there are about 22 different labs within NIAR, and it's that multidisciplinary lab structure that really gives us a real strength in comparison to what maybe you might consider our competition in pursuing these types of projects. Because this is about economic growth, just to give you a little bit of an overview about what that means. Today, the MRO, and the MRO operations kicked off roughly about 4 years ago. Today, the MRO employs about 142 full-time employees. That's about $18 million in annual compensation in the Wichita region. And then if we just look at those 4 labs that I mentioned earlier, those 4 labs in total employ about 440 FTEs, or $65 million in annual compensation in the Wichita region. And these are very high-paying jobs as well. And then in relation to the new DoD projects that are coming online, we definitely anticipate adding an additional 250 jobs over the next 3 years. That's our current expectation. And then finally, just to close out the presentation, I know you all have seen this metric before as well, but this is a common metric for measuring research activity in higher education through the National Science Foundation, and it's called the HERD survey, or the Higher Education Research and Development. And here you can see the rapid growth that we've experienced, largely through our industry and defense programs and NIAR operations. And one of the key reasons we're interested in continuing to pursue this loan is related to one of the board's key goals, which is promoting economic prosperity for Kansans and the Wichita region. So with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions you might have.
All right. Thank you so much, David. Sounds like an opportunity to continue the great work in the aviation industry that you guys have created there at Wichita State. Any questions for David this morning?
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
So thank you, Regent Benson. First of all, you said you're reimbursed after you do the work. Just curious, are there any, because of the government shutdown, are there any delays in getting reimbursements for any current projects that you're working on?
There are some delays. I would tell you at this stage, we've seen a very minimal impact so far. I've been watching that very closely. As the shutdown continues, that's going to get a little bit worse and a little bit worse as it continues to progress. One of the benefits for both us and the other institutions is that the state does help to support our federal fund, where all of these activities occur. And so to this date right now, they are continuing to support those challenges. So far we've seen a pretty minimal impact, but if the shutdown continues, that will worsen a little bit over time.
And then my second question is, and by the way, this sounds like a fabulous project. At the information that was sent out to us, there's a chart about debt burden ratio, and I see that it goes up slightly um, with the loan. I don't really understand the 2025 estimated 2.88 or the actual of 3.53. Could somebody put a little more context around that chart for me so I can understand it a little better?
Sure. I'll do my best here with these ratios. So
Okay.
for the debt burden ratio, for that ratio, the upper crust or where you don't want to see that ratio to go above is 7%.
Okay.
And for this ratio, a declining ratio is normally viewed as being a good thing. For us, it is increasing a little bit with the loan, but we also aren't nearing that 7% by any means.
Right.
The viability ratio, I would tell you, is something that I watch real closely, but I think it's also good to understand that ratio because the general guidance that's given is that the expectation for that ratio should be 1 or above. And as you can see here, with the loan or without the loan, we are currently below that 1%. What that ratio means is that if you were to take all of your expendable net assets today, and so maybe a better common term to think of that is your cash balance. And is that cash balance adequate to retire all of your debt and leases that you currently have on your books today? And if it is adequate, then you would have a 1 ratio or higher. For Wichita State, our cash balances right now, because we have been investing in things like what you saw or see on this table here, does fall below that 1%. But keep in mind what that means is because it's not necessarily realistic that any of us are going to retire all of our debt right now today, right? That's not really a realistic expectation. And the other thing I'd outline for you is for the authors who wrote the book that the CFI is based on, the Comprehensive Financial Index, they do outline in that book that, for organizations that are focused on growth and are relatively aggressive, and for us, we've always had a viability ratio that's been relatively low. We've been a lean organization, if you will, in relation to our cash balances. In the book, they outline that that's not necessarily a bad thing if that organization is focused on growth and expanding its operations. I hope that helps a little bit.
That does. Thank you very much, David.
And I will just add, Regent Wolfmore, Fiscal Affairs and Audit Committee will be doing a deeper dive on all of those ratios for all of the universities a little bit later in the year. So you'll certainly be a part of that conversation. It's a good
Okay,
question, though.
that would be helpful. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Chair Benson,
Yes, Regent Johnston.
thank you so much. I agree with Kathy. This is a tremendous opportunity and a fabulous project. I did have one question because I don't understand it. So the state offers a treasury bond that looks like we'll be making like 0.5% on. Is that for the first year? Is that because, am I right about this? We're going to go ahead and secure the money to make sure that it's there, but the project, we won't really need the money for a year for the project. Am I wrong about that?
That's correct. We're pursuing this loan in order to create working capital for the availability of those dollars when they might be needed. And right now, today, we would not look at utilizing those loan proceeds. But we want to create the bridge that's available for us as these new projects come online, in which if we do have a need to be able to tap into those dollars and continue the rapid growth that we're on, that we have a pool of funds that we could target to utilize in order to do that if they are needed. And that's one of the reasons, if I go back to the slide in our discussions with the financial institutions, As these dollars remain on deposit with the financial institution, it was really important for us that at the very least we were able to break even between the loan rate that we were paying versus the interest that might be generated from those funds while they're on deposit with the bank.
Okay, that makes sense. And so we will continue to draw some money from those deposits that are still in the bank as long as we're not drawing down the money, basically.
That's correct.
Okay, that seems like a good deal. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's a good question, Regent Johnston. And obviously the reason for the special meeting was there was a concern that if we waited another couple of weeks, that those funds may already be committed. So it's a good question.
That makes sense. Thank you.
David, when will you know if you're approved for the loan, if we approve our piece today?
So the loan commitment from the bank came in late last week. And so we are working through the process with them now of the legal documentation for the loan closing and crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. And I suspect that we're about 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even possibly with Thanksgiving. I hate to say it, but possibly 4 weeks out from the submission of the paperwork that the bank has to do, that we also have to follow it up with the certification. But the adoption today will help to give the financial institution the assurance that the proper approvals are in place for us to continue to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for David? Any other comments?
Chair Branson, this is
Yes,
Nima.
Regent Prasker.
My question is surrounding the project. Are we securing this loan only for those projects, or if something else comes up sooner than those, are we hoping to use these funds towards another project?
I would say that is possible, but these funds can only be utilized in relation to the MRO or maintenance, repair, and overhaul operations. So it would have to be a project that came up that fit within that lab and that purpose.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, would entertain a motion.
Chair Benson,
Yes, Regent Johnston.
I move that we approve Wichita State to move forward with this loan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Have a motion by Regent Johnston, a second by Regent Wolf-Moore. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Just want to confirm, Regent Prasker, that was a vote yes, correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Sorry about that. I'm afraid I cut you off. All right. So the motion is approved. David, thank you for your work on that, and good luck in your request. Given that, no other business before us, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And again, appreciate everybody's time and flexibility this morning. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck.